Manasvi Mahatmana Nanuvat Mahatti Nirpa Makshikeva Garut Mataha
Tassedam upagayanti Arshvayesha Rajarashe Manasapi Mahatmana Nanu Vartmarahati Nirpo Makshikeva Garut Mata Tassedam upagayanti Arshvayesha Rajarashe Nanuvat Mahatti Nirpo Makshikeva Garut Mata What do you mean? Tasya of Jadabhagavata Idam. This glorification. Upagayanti. They sing. Arshabhashya of the son of Rishabhdeva. Iha. Here. Raja Rishe of the great saintly king. Manasa api, even by the mind. Mahatmana of the great personality Jadabhagavata. Not Anuvartama Harahati, able to follow the path. Nirabha, any king. Makshika, one. Iva, like. Garutmataha, of Garuda, the carrier of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation and work by the Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. Having summarized the teachings of Jadabharata, Sukadeva Goswami said, My dear King Parikshit, the path indicated by Jadabharata is like the path followed by Garuda, the carrier of the Lord, and ordinary kings are just like flies. Flies cannot follow the path of Garuda, and to date none of the great kings and victorious leaders could follow this path of devotional service, not even mentally. Purport. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7.3, Manushyanam sagasreshu kaschit yadati siddhaye yadadam abhisiddhanam kaschit mam vedi tattva. Out of many thousand among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. The path of devotional service is very difficult, even for great kings who have conquered many enemies. Although these kings were victorious on the battlefield, they could not conquer the bodily conception. There are many big leaders, yogis, swamis, and so-called incarnations who are very much addicted to mental speculation and portray themselves as perfect personalities, but they are not ultimately successful. The path of devotional service is undoubtedly very difficult to follow, but it becomes very easy if the candidate actually wants to follow the path of the Mahajana. In this age, there is the path of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared to deliver all fallen souls. We are very satisfied that this path is being opened by this Krishna consciousness movement, because so many Europeans and American boys and girls are taking this philosophy seriously and gradually attaining perfection. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnana Jana Shalakaya Advaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sarvana Lalita Sri Vishakham Tamsa He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dīnabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Vrishabhanu Shudadevi Pranamani Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Blessings of all Vaishnavas. Speak from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam for my own purification. So here we're coming to somewhat a conclusion of the teachings of Jadabharat. If we see here, Sukadeva Goswami is telling to the king Parikshit, starting on a few things. Telling about having summarized the teachings of Jadabharat, Sukadeva Goswami said. What is the summary of the teachings of Jadabharat? If you see, the summary is there is no enjoyment in this material world. This is a summary. Most of the idea of the living entity, or in case the purpose of religion or the creation or other religion, how they portray it is that this place is meant for your enjoyment. We are here to enjoy. And the idea of heaven or the idea of facility provided. But then when we read Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly Krishna saying this material world is temporary and full of misery. It is not meant for one's enjoyment, but it is meant for one's reformation. As a conditioned living entity, we understand that there is some missing link, or I'm trying to enjoy but I'm not able to enjoy. Or I'm trying to get happiness but I'm not able to get in this material world because there is no enjoyment. So we understand that we are not the enjoyer, but our position is a cooperator or a facility. We take care of what Krishna has provided and we use it in the service of Krishna. So that's a summary. Because Śrīmad Bhāgavatam in the outset, in the very start, it wants to make clear that it wants to remove all the cheating religion or Kaitava Dharma, kick out, uprooting all the misconception. Even one may take him to Dharma or religion, since Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha, thinking that the Dharma will bring you economic development. In turns, then when you have the economic development, then you can satisfy your senses. And then when you get frustrated or when you have enough of it, then you want to give up and you want to liberate. This is not the purpose, if you really see, that the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam want to make sure that we get the misconception out of our way. And here this chapter gives the detail of fit by the external potency, or how the jiva is trying to get something out of this material forest, but then he is undergoing a lot of suffering, miseries and pains and so forth, different details to it. And here Maharaj Bharat is addressed as Mahatmana. He is a great, and this verse and to the end of the verse, Sukadeva Goswami is glorifying Maharaj Bharat. Maharaj Bharat, even though you see there is we see the renunciation aspect of Maharaj Bharat. He is very renounced. He is like Jada Yoga, we tell. He is oblivious of what's happening external or what is happening to his body. He is so renounced. But at the same time, even though he is renounced, in his heart he is a pure devotee. That we should understand. Bhakti, actually, performance of bhakti will cause renunciation and will give us knowledge as well. But just renunciation will not have create a fertile ground for a heart to accept the bhakti. It will be very dry, and probably one may not take to bhakti also because of dry heart. So here the glories of bhakti is emphasizing the renunciation, that yes, Prabhupada actually writes in Bhagavad Gita also, we don't have anything to renounce. How we can call ourselves as a renunciant? We haven't created anything, we haven't bought anything, we haven't produced anything. So we cannot be proud of the borrowed plumes. We take things and then we renounce as if we produce that, because renunciation, even Arjuna asked many different way of saying question or just a clarification on this particular aspect. In the 3rd chapter starting, again in the 5th chapter, he asked, which is better? You tell me, is it renunciation or working devotion? Which is better? And then Krishna says both are same. One is direct and one is indirect. But I prefer you to do the devotional work, that working devotion. One should not renounce the work unless he is on that platform. Rather, he worked for Krishna. So that is the purification. Renunciation comes when we actually engage in bhakti, because bhakti, or when we are doing devotional service, then we are offering the fruits to the Supreme Enjoyer, Sri Krishna. And we are doing activities keeping Saint Krishna in the center, so there is no way that we are getting entangled or we are renouncing. So better is that we engage in the bhakti, then automatically one develops renunciation, because he is doing for the pleasure of Krishna. So that is why Maharaj Bharat is a great devotee, just a mere renunciant or an ascetic. Because he is always connected with the Supreme Lord in his heart. That's why he is externally can renounce everything. So here if you see, Maharaj Bharat is like, comparison is given, is like Garuda, the carrier of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, a devotee. Whereas other kings or other leaders are compared to a fly. There is a gulf of difference there, because Garuda also can fly, a normal fly also can fly. But then Garuda, what he is doing, and the fly, what he is doing, we can see from the activities. So he is compared to a great devotee, Garuda. It's not easy. So Prabhupada actually writes in the purport few things. One of the key themes, few are there. One of the aspects he focuses that how devotional service is difficult and how devotional service is easy. is a kind of a paradox, or is kind of a contradicting thing. We see how devotional service is difficult, and at the same time how devotional service is easy. If you see the purport, Prabhupada starting with the purport, Manushanam Sagasreshu Kaschit Yatati Siddhi, the verse from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, where it shows the qualification of receiving the devotional service, or the rarity of devotional service, or it shows how difficult one person coming into devotional service. But then, when you see the end of the purport, Srila Prabhupada is concluding that so many Europeans, Americans and girls are taking this philosophy seriously and gradually attain perfection. So, if you see there is the difficult, and then if you see that the person who are like, from Vedic perspective, you see a Malacha or a Yavana or Chandala, or there is no Vedic background. Even people nowadays coming from any India or even Subcontinent, they act like that, but still they getting perfected. So like you will be like, and here in the translation also says the great kings, the great leaders are compared to a fly. Something which is not possible and which is difficult, but it's easily available. How is it? So that we will see. So first we will start, like for example, how it is difficult. So Bhagavad Gita in the Manushanam Sagasreshu verse, Prabhupada starts a purport that human beings or the living entities, especially the humans, are interested only in eating, sleeping, mating and defending, and they want to live a life like an animal. That we can see predominantly the category of people where they are not civilized, they don't follow any Vedic scriptures, or there is no as such principle oriented life of living. And they just live like basis of instinct, and they want to satisfy the sense gratification, that's the main goal, and some or other want to be happy. So from that category, if you see, one is coming to the platform of, okay, I am not this spirit body, I am a spirit soul. And then one is coming to the easiest realization, transcendental realization is that everything is Brahman. God is one, we are all one. Which they can, for the easy, where one can easily relate to the spiritual transcendentalist position. The first is easy, like Brahman. Everything is one. I am, you, God, all are one. Yeah, the Supreme Lord, the God is everywhere. This is easy for people. Yeah, God is everywhere. Then the second is difficult, is that God is everywhere, all pervading. All pervading of the Lord can be on two aspects. If you see the all pervading of the Supreme Lord through His energy, the example of a sun where it is pervading everywhere through His heat and light, that is all pervading. And then the other aspect of the all pervading of the Lord is the Paramatma, which is a little bit higher to understand that the Lord, who is all pervading, is present in each and every atom, is present within you and without you, but He is one. So that is like a little bit difficult to understand. And then there comes the last, which is understanding Krishna. From this verse, if you see that hardly anyone take up to spirituality, and then in that spirituality there is, we can see that Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavan, Iti Sabdete, the absolute truth can be realized in three aspects. And Brahman is the Paramatma, and then Bhagavan, Krishna, yes, that is all, the Lord is all pervading. He is present everywhere. He is within you, without you, but He is a person. So that is like even more difficult to understand. And He is playing flute and enjoying, He is having fun. It's like even more difficult to conceive. So that is, one can understand Krishna. Or what we can see in a layman term, for example. If someone is not spiritual, and then you give the book, this is a book about spirituality, people usually don't like to take, no, I'm okay, you are okay. very popular, and they wanted that book only. Prabhupada says, what is the book? The book is I am okay, you are okay. The book name is I am okay, you are okay. Then Prabhupada said, yes, this book also similar to that only. You should give and tell, I am okay, you are not okay, and give this book. This is a book about that. Then people will take it. Oh. So, if you see, even if someone want to take spirituality, they should come to the right source, which is like a very rare. It's like seeing a rainbow in a bright sunny day. It's very rare like that. So, because there are so many books are there, so many literatures are there. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is one verse where the glory of Mahaprabhu is mentioned, where the ocean is compared to the spirituality, and there are a lot of crocodiles in the ocean, which compared to different siddhanta or different conclusion, like by Patanjali, Yoga Sutra, or the Jaimini, Karma Mimamsa, or this, that, there are so many apasiddhantas or different conclusions which is presented in Vedic also. What to talk about non-Vedic presentation of philosophies. And these are like crocodiles, and how are you going to cross this ocean or something? But then, by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya, even a foolish child can cross this ocean of nations which is filled with crocodiles. So like that, when one person is want to spirituality, he has to come to the right book, Bhagavad Gita as it is, or Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, or any small book of Srila Prabhupada, which is very rare. And then when you have that book, here a second. First of all, when you read, then we started reading Bhagavad Gita. Then what happened? I can't understand. First of all, we don't have book, somehow we get the book and then we read, then we say we can't understand. That's it. Then the next, after we reading, we understand, then we come, I understand but I can't believe. It's too much. First reading is not there, then you somehow or other you understand. Then when you understand, then you can't believe. No, Krishna is saying like this is too much, Krishna is saying I am this, I am that. How is it? I can't believe, Then after you believe, then we come to the correct yoga process, bhakti yoga. That is difficult. And then you surrender to Krishna. Krishna is saying Manmana Bhagavato Madhya Jivam Namaskuru. He is saying offer homages to me, worship me, you think of me, and he finally surrender to me. Oh, that's it, Too much. Krishna is too demanding. You see, this is a condition. Yes, when you get the book, maybe one can start the spirituality. But then to come to that surrender totally to Krishna, that's why Krishna is saying it's very, very, very difficult. It's very, very, very rare. It's not easy. And one will say, yes, one Krishna is saying you have to perform bhakti. So that's the way you can surrender to Krishna. So people say, yes, I am ready to do this. I have bhakti. In my early, before Krishna consciousness or something, bhakti means, my mother said, go get some agarbatti. That's a maximum. Go get a agarbatti, put your books, whatever is there, and then pray to Krishna or pray to any God from your heart. What is a prayer? Dhanam Dehi, this, exam pass, or give me money, give me job, give me good wife, Jai Jagadish Hare. Then, then you have this coconut cracking. We pray all this, whatever big want to do, and then we offer this 5 rupee coconut, smashing. The bhakti, people say, I have bhakti. Don't tell me, I am a devotee of Krishna for a long time. I follow Krishna, I go to Janmashtami, I do everything. I have Radhu Gopal also at home. I know, I've been to Vrindavan, they'll tell everything. But bhakti is difficult. Why? Because bhakti, when you have that emotion and you have towards the Supreme Lord. The so-called unauthorized, without the knowledge, without following any rules and regulation, then the bhakti is easy. Is it then when we introduce this rules and regulation? When I went to India very first time, I said we have to offer this to Krishna before eating. Okay, that is up to my. Then they quickly, my relatives, my mother, they quickly took a plate which we eat. And they said, no. I said, no, not that plate. We need to buy a new plate. Okay. Then they took some other, like the cup and saucer comes in India, they give a gift for marriage and all. They took that saucer to put, plate. So I went and bought the plate. New, like a stainless steel plate, nice, with a sticker, everything is there. And then I did we said, we need to offer it to Krishna. So we put it in the plate, everything like that, and then we kept it. I kept it and offered. Then what happened, I went, I had a phone call, I went, then after the offering, one time what happened, they left the plate like that, only they started eating. I said, no, first you have to take the plate and mix it. Then another time what happened, the plate, and then when I came back, from the same plate, my mother was feeding to my niece. After the offering, the same plate, and I asked, Mom, what are you doing? This is the plate. Yeah, everything's same. The child is also innocent. He is also like Krishna only. All are same. Bhakti is there, out of love only. Love is bhakti. So that same plate feeding, what is the problem? Nothing. So when you put these rules and regulation, they feel hurt. People think, it's too much. It's a natural process. You call people, why don't you come to temple? Krishna is there within my heart. He will tell me when to come. You don't tell us, what to do. I have a direct connection with Krishna. We see that the neophyte mentality in bhakti, that we want to be direct with Krishna. We don't want any layers between us and Krishna. And we don't appreciate the fact of devotees or the Supreme Lord present in every living entity as Paramatma. The lack of knowledge, lack of faith, lack of association. You can say that's the initial, that me and Krishna direct. I want to do direct service. And only worshipping the deity in the temple because they can't see the hands of Krishna behind everything. But then if you see the bhakti, when performed, they don't want to follow the rules and regulation. So, without following the rules and regulation, without having the knowledge of bhakti, and without any authorization, it looks very easy. Yeah, do whatever you feel like. You do whatever you offer, whatever time you like. You cook whatever you like. If you want to offer, don't offer. If you want to love, you don't love. So it becomes very sporadic, it becomes very spontaneous, and there is no control. That bhakti is easy. So there is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Rupa Goswami says, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidimvina Haikantiki Hare Bhakti Utpatteiva Kalpate. Devotional service of the Lord that ignores the authorized Vedic literature like the Upanishads, Puranas, and Narada Pancharatra is simply an unnecessary disturbance in society. It's a disturbance. It's not going to take you anywhere. So that is difficult. In every angle you see, then bhakti becomes difficult because you need to follow certain codes, you need to follow, this is sadhana bhakti, rules and regulation. We follow the 4 regulative principles, we chant minimum 16 rounds, regulative principles are there. And then varna ashram, depending upon your ashram, varna. And then you perform devotional service under the guidance of a spiritual master, under the guidance of your Siksha Gurus. So many are there to guide, to protect. So that becomes difficult. Then how it is easy? Prabhupada says it's very easy. So what is bhakti? Bhakti Goswami is saying Bhakti Rasamritam Sindhu, Rupa Goswami says, Atas Sri Krishna Namadi Na Bhavat Graham Indriya Sevam Mukhi Jivado Swayam Eva Sprutyada. No one can understand Krishna as he is by the blank material senses, but he reveals himself to the devotees, being pleased with them for the transcendental loving service unto him. So, in Bhagavad Gita also we see that devotional service is susukum, or it says is easy and happy. One joyfully perform, one is performing out of bliss. Then how it becomes easy? Because when we engage our senses, the other process that you restrain your senses, that you follow certain rigid rules, no regulation, suppress your sensual desires, that's not going to work. It's going to make you more miserable. But then, when you engage your senses in the service of Krishna, then what happens? You understand that there is some kind of satisfaction. And the understanding that the service of the, like its example of the watering the root or feeding the stomach, when water is water the root, then the whole tree is pleased. Similarly, when the food is given to the stomach, then the whole body is nourished. When we have certain knowledge, transcendental knowledge of Krishna, knowledge about devotional service, knowledge about our activities in devotional service, that will make us happy and it also remove the misery. So the process either your jnana yoga or they talk about the renouncing the activity. But here bhakti, by engaging in the service and we follow the instruction of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, it will make us happy. Now, still the difficult process, we understand, okay, we engage in bhakti, it will make us easy, it will make us happy. But there is one more aspect to it. Like if you see from the start, Manushanam Salasreshu, to anyone who can take this process, philosophy seriously and gradually attain perfection, there is something there in the middle, that is Mahajan, or following the footsteps of the great devotees. So they make it easy actually. Here the Prabhupada quotes Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Even though it is difficult, but then it is made easy by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who has given the process of chanting the holy name. And in fact, it goes without saying, that is, following the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the current Mahajan is Srila Prabhupada, who has actually made very easy for anyone to do. And what is their role if you see? The Mahajan in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that is a verse actually spoken in Mahabharata by Yudhishthira. That is Dharmasya Tattvam Nihitam Guhyam Mahajano Yena Kata Sapanta. The solid truth of religious principles is hidden in the heart of an unadulterated, self-realized person. Consequently, as the Shastras confirm, one should accept whatever progressive path the Mahajanas advocate. Krishna is giving instruction in Bhagavad Gita, which was difficult for Kali Yuga people to accept, surrender, give up everything and surrender to Krishna. But same Krishna who came as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave the process of surrender in the form of chanting. And he actually made easy for everyone. He's exactly a teacher is teaching how to write alphabets for the students, for the small kids. They might find difficult to write. But then when the same teacher comes down, sit next to the student, and then catch the hand of the student and write A, B. That made relevant, approachable, and easy for the student to understand. So just like that, Krishna is giving instruction, but then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed how to follow that instruction so that it's easy for everyone to take up the bhakti and make it easy. Now Srila Prabhupada, if you really see, we do certain things in our organization just because Srila Prabhupada asked us to do. Famous of why do we chant 16 rounds, people ask. Why do we do morning program or why do we do certain things? Just because the Mahajan, the great devotee, the Acharya, Srila Prabhupada asked us to do because he has seen the truth. Tadvini pranipadena pariprashena. So they have seen the truth. They have literally seen the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they have the treasure, as this verse says. They have that treasure, religious principle hidden in their heart. And they know the truth, they know the knowledge, they know the way. And they can give it to the conditioned soul. In this regard, if you see the holy name here, Mahaprabhu is prescribing the holy name. So Srila Prabhupada, when he moved into the lower Bauri in New York, in the eastern side, which is not a common place for any sadhu or saints to move in, the people are hippies, very alternative living style, and their understanding is spirituality. The closest understanding of how they can be spiritual is by taking drugs. That's their understanding. They were taking drugs or all kinds of drugs, and so Srila Prabhupada is the beauty of a Mahajan, of a great Acharya. Even though they know the highest truth and the knowledge, they make it very relevant for the audience. So Srila Prabhupada said, this chanting of the holy name or the devotional service or the process will make you high and you will not come down. And Prabhupada said, it's like a room full of LSD, or is like drugs, unlimited drug, because their understanding is they take some psychedelic drugs and it make them high and then it comes down, which they don't want. What they wanted is they want an unlimited. So this is actually the quality of permanent happiness. The permanent happiness quality what the jiva is hankering is, it should be unlimited, it should be variety, and it should be never ending. The soul is wants it. That can be provided only in the spiritual domain, on the spiritual aspect. Because anything material which makes you high, it has to come down. It's like the Ferris wheel. It is going up, so make sure that you can be sure that it's going to come down. So then Srila Prabhupada was giving them the idea that spiritual life is like the room full of LSD and drugs. And they were like very much excited because they can relate to it. And So they had their first initiation, and Prabhupada gave that 488 principle. And he had some half a dozen of people who are coming regularly and associating with him. But Srila Prabhupada is not like, okay, everything going smooth, things are happening, happy, and it's not like that. Even when we had an experience of working in one of his godbrother magazine in Delhi, he wanted to do more, just like a 4-page magazine, just doing bare minimum and only concerned about the one center. He wanted to translate Hindi, Chaitanya Charitamrita into Hindi, because Srila Prabhupada knows what is required for a particular audience, what he is dealing with. So at the moment he was in India, he was in Delhi, so he wanted to translate Chaitanya Charitamrita into Hindi. Then he wants to give this Gita Upanishad published. So he has a list of books which he has to do it. And then he approached the Godbrother saying that, you publish this one, you help it publish, and this will be able to reach more. We're just doing the bare minimum. But circumstances, situation, the Godbrother was not happy, and then he asked to leave him. He asked him to just leave the place, because I know you are sarcastically glorifying him, but then he asked him to move out, because he said, what we are doing is happy, what is happening is happy, and we are satisfied. We don't want to expand. But Srila Prabhupada is not like that. The day when he finished initiation and everything, the next day he wanted to take people to the park to chant. And that's like very much a different mindset for them, because so far they have not exposed themselves as the follower of Hare Krishna or associated with the saint, because even though they're living in the lower Skid Row, they have not exposed. So that means when you go out and chant, you are exposing yourself as a devotee of Krishna, and you are showing that commitment, and you are showing that this is who I am real, isn't it? If you go in Harinam, that's something which you need some kind of a bold and acceptance that I am chanting the name of Krishna. It's not a colorful exhibition or something. This is a process. This is our process, that we go out and chant the holy name of Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada, even though many had went and they chanted, they were a little bit shy and a little bit nervous and things, but then once they chant the holy name, and especially when you hear the holy name from the lip of a pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada actually explained in the translation of the Hare Krishna mantra, that one should make sure that you hear the holy name, the glorification of Krishna from the lip of a pure devotee, not from a so-called scholar or a professional or a non-devotee. That's like a milk touched by the lips of a serpent will make into a poison. So when Prabhupada chanted, and when they hear it was a simple kirtan, and the holy name has its effect, and especially when it is coming from the pure devotee. It's like Bhagavatam is pure, and it is so rasamalaya, full of nectar, and especially when it is come from Sukadeva Goswami, who is like a parrot. A fruit for a mango is very sweet, but when the mango is touched by the beaks of the parrot, it makes more sweet. Similarly, when the holy name itself is potency to liberate anyone, anytime, and then when especially coming from the lip of a pure devotee, that will awaken the dormant love of Krishna within the heart of the conditioned soul. It's exactly like once get awakened by the alarm clock. When we hear the alarm, we get awakened. Similarly, the holy name enters the heart of the conditioned soul and get awakened. And everyone was chanting, everyone was joining in. The whole park was, when Prabhupada actually walked to the park, he was charismatic, with a chin high, head high, walking like a royal and with few followers. Everyone was walking around, everyone was criticizing, but he knew this is what he's waiting for. Last 1 year he was alone, he couldn't able to do much, but this is a time where he can give, and he knew that. So he went to the park and they chanted, everyone had chanting, and it was such a blissful experience. And then when Srila Prabhupada came back, more people actually joined him to come back to 26th Avenue. When there was one organization, because in the hippie, there were few people who were influential. Even Allen Ginsberg and the others were very influential because they write song, poem. And the person who got, who research or know about this drugs, when they make it as illegal or something, he actually formed one group. And they went to Prabhupada and said, because what happened is when they did the heat and they were giving the flyers out. The flyer was, stay high forever and never come down. So that was like really a kind of outbreak, because people can relate to it and they all follow. And then so few people started challenging Srila Prabhupada that you were saying, do you take drugs? The Prabhupada said, no, I never take drugs, even I don't take tea. I don't take any intoxicants. And then you were saying that this chanting of Hare Krishna is more than the drug. How can you say that? And have you experience of taking drugs? So Prabhupada said actually this is in a different platform, that you have physical, mental, emotional, this is a spiritual platform. You don't need any drug to actually get into spirituality. And then he called one of his followers who is new, just 2 months, Hare Prabhu. He said, I haven't taken any drugs, but my followers, they are into drugs. You can ask them, Hare, can you speak? So then he said, yes, this is. Then he was addressing the people crowd. If you take a material drug, yes, it will take you high. After some time, it will come down. But there is a spiritual ecstasy or the chanting of Hare Krishna, you will never come down. And you can stay high. You can chant, go on chant. So one person, then he was arguing, I can chant any name. Why Krishna? I can chant Coca-Cola. I'll get this. Then Prabhupada said, you can go on, but then you will not get. But this chanting of Hare Krishna is so potent that you can go on chant for 24 hours. So even when how is it possible? Such a difficult process, such a perfection in spirituality is made so easy by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Otherwise they were very difficult. They make it relevant to the audience. They in fact they can trick. There is like the pastime of Haridas Thakur. When a prostitute was sent to him to allure him to get, defame him. So he said, just give me few time. I'm just have to chant the holy name. His idea was that he made sure that the person hears the holy name. That's more important. And especially when we hear the holy name from the lips of the pure devotee, that will have an effect. He said, just wait, just wait. He could have easily sent her, you can go, or something. But she said, wait here. Just wait for few minutes. I'll finish my chanting. And then I will help you whatever you want. I will satisfy you. So he was doing that for continuously 3 days. At the end of the 3 days, she became a pure devotee. It's a trick by the Mahajan. And this is another quality that if you see, they are more merciful than the Supreme Lord himself. They are more merciful than the Supreme Lord himself. In this context, you can see Bhagavad Gita, where Prabhupada writes, the Naradamas are the lowest of the mankind, are impossible to surrender to Krishna. Krishna says, Naradama, they will not come. Buddha, Naradama, Maya, Pravita Jnana, Ashrubrahma, Masritaha, Duskritanas, these are all Duskritanas, they will not come. But then, Srila Prabhupada writes, the Lord doesn't want certain people, or he's saying cannot come, but then Sri Nityananda Prabhu, who actually delivered the lowest of the mankind, the Naradamas, Jaga and Mother. So that the devotees are more merciful than the Supreme Lord, because the Mahajan, when we have that kind of the devotees with us, who can actually make sure that we are getting liberated. Even though we may be in the category of Malecha, Yavana, what is the hope of someone in the lower, in the slums of New York to become a great devotee? What is the probability? So then, it made possible just by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. So that is the middle, the missing factor actually, or the key factor in this, how something which is difficult can be made, which is also easy, but how the transition takes place from the difficult to easy by following the path of Mahajan or connecting to the Mahajan or Acharya, the spiritual master, the devotees. So that will make us easily transition from the difficult path and we come to that easy path. So by this I will finish this class and see if anyone has any comments or corrections or questions. Okay. Thank you very much. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai.
Jai. Jai.